James Harden is averaging 40 a game. He is averaging 40 a game. That's what he's doing. The brother is special. He's something to behold. He's averaging 40. He scored over 50 on about 3 or 4 occasions this year. He scored over 40, obviously, numerous times. He has scored over 30 on all other 29 teams in the NBA. That is what James Harden has done. Chris Paul's been hurt, no matter. Clint Capella has been hurt, no matter. Eric Gordon has been hurt, no matter. James Harden has been that kind.
Whether the flag is thrown or not, I'm against it. I'm in the minority. Certainly based on the NFL vote, I'm in the minority, and I think they are setting themselves up for monstrous controversy in the last 2 minutes of close games when every little bit of contact, they're going to want one sideline or the other is going to want to get the replay booth involved. But one other thing that I think needs to be brought up football-wise is on the eve of the draft, and now we're less than a month away from the draft, trade talk is going to really heat up. And right here in New York City, I think the team that could start the domino effect, should they choose, because they need a quarterback and they've got the ammunition to go up and get one or to prevent other teams from getting their guy, is the Giants. And you hear a lot of talk about now the Giants might not even take a quarterback at 6 if they stay put. They may wait until 17 to take a Daniel Jones. I don't think Drew Lock's going to fall that far, but maybe they'll like one of those secondary guys at 17 and use the 6th pick for a defensive player and get 2 guys. I think that's a mistake. I'm a big Haskins fan. I think he is absolutely a worthy top 5 pick. I think the Jets should be a target for the Giants to potentially come up and make a trade. But what the Giants are trying to do right now is convince everybody that they've got a plan. And that their plan is at some point to put a quarterback behind Eli Manning, but to move forward that way. And to me, if you have a plan you decisively go get your quarterback. And if Haskins is your quarterback, you do whatever you've got to do to go get him and build a new 10 to 15-year run around that guy. I think any other position, if you've got quarterback settled, any other position, you may like guys ahead of you at 6, but you can stay put at 6. You could take the best available player, stay put at 17, take the next best available player, and move forward as long as you've got your quarterback. With any other position, that's fine. With quarterback, you need to be decisive and you need to go get your guy. Because I've been working around the Jets since 1996, and I've been their play-by-play guy since 2002. So I have lived through a lot of eras of Jet football here in New York where the Jets were the rudderless ship, where they were always looking to kind of middle it. I don't want to pay the price to go from 6 to 3, so instead I'm going to take a quarterback further back in the draft, like a Geno Smith in the second round, and I'm going to try to middle it and get a steal later in the draft and, see if I can kind of find a diamond in the rough. Very rarely does that work, at least on purpose. Oftentimes when that happens, it happens by accident. Russell Wilson happens by accident. The Seahawks were convinced, but not convinced enough to draft him in the first or second round. Draft him in the third round. You think they would have taken with one of their first 2 picks if they knew what they know now? To me, when you think you've got a quarterback and you're sold on one, and I can't tell you whether the Giants are sold on Haskins or not. The proof will be in what they do. But what I can tell you is a guy that's got this type, I think, of, a set of measurables and played the way he played. And the more you hear about him, the more you hear that he's got that brain that processes information, that is going to be able to run an NFL offense and be able to deal with all of the different arrows that are flying his way. You get a guy like that, you better believe if you're sitting at 6, somebody's going to jump up ahead of you, make a deal with one of those teams ahead of you and go get them because they're going to be decisive and they're going to go after him. I think the Giants, because they've got the 17th pick as well, they've got the ammunition to move up. I think they hold the key to how this whole draft could end up shaking out. It'll be very interesting to see what they do. But when a quarterback is concerned, my philosophy, you do what the Jets finally did last year. They finally, outside of the one shot at it they took with Mark Sanchez, and it didn't work, they finally, for the first time since Sanchez, came to a consensus about the quarterback, took whatever ammunition it was going to take to move up into the top 3 to make sure that they got a guy, and they decisively went and took the CEO and put him at the head of their organization, which is what Sam Darnold is now going to be for the next decade plus. They were decisive, they moved up, they got their guy. You try and middle it at quarterback, you try and wait and hope guys fall to you, you wait in the middle of the first round and take one of those secondary guys that the rest of the league don't have a consensus on, you are rolling the dice. And you can very easily appear to be the rudderless ship as opposed to the team that's got a plan. Let's go to Nathan, who joins us next here on ESPN Radio. Bob Shoes and sitting in for Stephen A. What's up, Nathan?
Oh, not too much. Out of this whole light of the situation, what I'm realizing more and more with the NFL is they're too reactive with all their situations that they handle stuff with instead of being proactive. When this came out that this egregious call was made, the NFL needed to come right out and nip this in the butt and say, this was a bad call. This was a mistake that was made, but we're not going to look at restructuring how rules and how things are done. And I agree with you 1,000%. They're opening Pandora's box by being able to review judgment calls. That's taking the officiating out of the game when you take their judgment call away.
Well, just by definition, your judgment might be different than my judgment. They may get a call in the last 2 minutes of a championship game or a Super Bowl where replay initiates now a pass interference call that's iffy from the booth. They go with what replay says. They change a call on the field and end up with just as big a controversy in that direction as the blown call last year in the NFC Championship game. Mike joins us next here on ESPN Radio. What's up, Mike?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
A couple things. I think if this rule was relegated to the challenge flag system throughout the entire game, it could be better because coaches are going to hold on to those flags a little bit longer in case a call like that throws up. But secondly,
I agree with you, but and I'll let you make your point, but just put yourself in the position of a head coach now. You're down by 4. You got 2 timeouts. There's a minute 30 on the clock. You're the play caller. You're an Andy Reid or a Sean Payton or someone like that. You have all those different things going on in your brain. What they're trying to do by taking the last 2 minutes, the crucible moments of the game, and putting that in the replay booth, all replays they're trying to take that off the coach's plate because the coach has so much going on in his, orbit in the last 2 minutes of a close game that he shouldn't also have to worry about correcting blown calls. That there should be a backup system to make sure that that's not on his plate any longer. That's what they're trying to do, I think, in the last 2 minutes of these games. So go ahead, make your point.
Well, the funny thing is, I would kind of go the other direction and put more on the teams and say, okay, let's raise the stakes for the last 2 minutes. You can throw the flag, but if you get it wrong, it's a loss of a timeout and a loss of a down. That way, it puts it back on the teams and less on the officials and the controversy and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you want to gamble here, go for it if it's worth it. But the stakes are higher. Yeah,
I think you're going someplace that's unnecessary. I don't think they should have to do that. I think that this is, again, that's the byproduct of opening Pandora's box. That's where all of a sudden this whole thing starts going down a slippery slope where now you might bring in other judgment calls that replay might want to get involved in as the years go on. Why do we think that the only game-changing calls we're going to have are going to be involving pass interference? What happens if next year, in the NFC or AFC championship game, minute to go, somebody very clearly roughs the quarterback? Or somebody doesn't rough the quarterback and a flag gets thrown. Somebody gets a 15-yard penalty, moves them into field goal range, and they kick a game-winning field goal. That they would not have been in field goal range without having gotten the benefit of that flag. Now, all of a sudden, that judgment call may end up in the replay booth. All for a call that I don't think we're ever going to see again. That's the thing that drives me crazy about this. I don't think you're ever in your lifetime going to see a blown call the likes of which you saw last year in the NFC Championship game. I don't see it happening. I think 99.8% of officials would have pulled a flag out in that spot and thrown the damn flag. And then we wouldn't be in this spot. But now you're talking about all of these, if he calls one way or the other, potentially in the last 2 minutes especially, when the game's on the line, the booth buzzing down because 2 guys last year were looking right at a play in front of them and just didn't have the onions to throw the flag. If they would have thrown the flag last year, this would not be the spot that we're in. I'm telling you, there will be games played in the NFL this year where all the conversation on Monday, all of it, is going to be about, can you believe replay initiated or flipped a pass interference call in that game, change the end of the game? It's going to happen. You start going to replay on judgment calls, it is going to happen. If you missed any of the show, go and check it out on demand. The Stephen A. Smith podcast brought to you by Capital One Sabre Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, 1% on all other purchases. What's in your wallet? And as the new season gets underway, the TuneIn app has every baseball fan covered from opening day to the World Series. Listen to your favorite team with live calls for every MLB game with TuneIn Premium, your all-in-one audio app. TuneIn brings together not only MLB coverage, but other live sports, music, news, podcasts, including all of your favorite ESPN radio podcasts, like the Stephen A. Smith Show. Download the TuneIn app and begin your free 30-day trial of TuneIn Premium today. Bob Wischusen sitting in for Stephen A. 888 say ESPN, 888-729-3776. Not only on ESPN Radio, but on the app, on the Listen tab of the ESPN app, Channel 80, Sirius XM, and ESPN News. You can always tune in on television as well. I'm also at ESPN Bob on Twitter. So if you want to tweet me or follow me, feel free. I would love it. I throw gems out there once in a while. If you're not one of my followers, you're kind of missing out.